crash pattern looks like, or basically where someone of Mr. O'Keefe's height's arm would contact the rear tail light.
And also the family of the perpetrator. Going forward, we Logans are choosing to put our energy and focus into honoring Maddie's too short life.
I mean, like you can't remember my name. I don't remember.
What is no big deal to us is a big deal to these litigants, right?
Hello everyone, welcome back to Catch Up Court. I go by the name of Hines, your friendly neighborhood Catch Up man. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Source and Order Weekly. We, as usual, we always do these streams every Sunday from 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. UK time. So if you are a taste for the Lord, this is definitely a stream for you. We can hang out here. All of you guys are tastemakers in my eyes. So I'm speaking as if we've been doing these episodes for so many, but we started this stream last week, and I appreciate every single one of you that are tuning into this particular stream last week. And we have a lot to go through this week, really, because we have 4 cases to discuss on this stream, just like last week where we had four cases to discuss. We also have it here. Aaron Spencer case is the first case too that we are going to be looking through today. This particular case, once you learn the facts, you're going to question a lot, because if you're like myself, who has been following crime and trials and giving opinions, you would know that quite often no one really takes up for the person that is accused of a particular crime. No one really understands their well, at least they try to, but they generally don't side with the person that pulls the trigger or the person that does the killing. However, in this particular case, that's what we are not seeing. We are seeing a lot of support, and yeah, and this is something that we have to discuss because like I said in the last stream last week, this is a place in which I want to have these discussions on trials. So definitely I'm looking forward to discussing this case, and hopefully you all of us here can have a back and forth. Now not just this particular case, we are going to be looking back on the Lawrence Dority trial. This is the case that was happening in the state of Florida. This case was really interesting to me at that time, and that was because it only took 5 to 6 hours to basically have the case done, have the defendant testify, all the prosecution witnesses done and out of the way. And I was surprised by this. I wanted to cover it at the time, but I just never had time to sit down and make a recap video of it all like I usually do on the channel. So this is probably the best opportunity to go through the case and how really tragic it was that this man has lost his life in what was, in my opinion, senseless. We are going to be going through all of that. Then we are going to the UK for the Madeline McCann Stalker trial. I'm going to be going through the background of this case and giving you what has been reported from people that were in the courtroom of the events that occurred, and why this stalker is saying that she is Madeline McCann, etc. So we are going to be discussing the case of Lester versus Julia Wendolt. Yeah. So, and then not too long, we are going to be discussing Tim Westwood and his particular rape and sexual assault charges. So yeah, so jam-packed show right here. So make sure that it's really important to hit that like button. It really does help us out with the YouTube algorithm. If you're watching this back on replay, let me know how you're feeling in the comments. But if you are here with us live, like Random Girl, I appreciate you for tuning in. She is here, and others that may be lurking. No judgment, just hopefully you guys enjoy the this particular stream. Thank you so much. She says, I cannot imagine why this case is being tried, and I'm guessing you're referring to the case of Aaron Spencer. We're gonna go through that right now because I have a couple of reasons why it's actually being charged in the way that it is. And so this was the first time. So when it first began, the Aaron Spencer case that I'm referring to, when this case immediately started, it was reported as, and this is a site, it really hit the cultural, well, I mean, I'm not going to call it a cultural zeitgeist, but it was well known in the state of Arkansas what basically happened, and it started gaining notoriety. This was back in October 2024. So this was before I even came across the case, because I came across this case in September. So I didn't really know much about it. And even when I came across it, I was in bed. So I was not even in a frame of mind to soak in all the information. And I just put it to one side, let more things play out, and then go back and revisit it. And after that, I was like, whoa, this is actually something that is worthy of a discussion. So immediately when I look back on this, they were like rallied to drop charges after dad shoots and kills sexual predator with his missing 14-year-old daughter. This of course this caught my eye, because end of the day, when you read what basically happened, it says social media users have rallied behind Arkansas family to have murder charges drop after a father shot and killed a man with a prior sexual predator history, after the man was found to be with their missing 14-year-old daughter after allegedly raping the teen earlier this year. So this year in this context would be 2024. So this guy is not only a repeat offender, but has really already offended and already had his I don't know what words to actually use for it, but he has already abused his daughter in the past. The perpetrator, well, for context reasons, in 2024, the perpetrator before this particular charge would be Michael Fossler, but because Aaron Spencer is charged, he's technically seen as a perpetrator. But as you can already see, it's already hard for me to basically be like, how can I call him the victim, and how can I call Michael Fossler the victim and Aaron Spencer, just based on how the case is framed. But for the purposes of this stream, because Michael Fossler is dead, he's the victim, and because Aaron Spencer is the one that killed him, he would be the perpetrator. So I'm just making that clear now. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is Michael Fossler was the perpetrator on perpetrating the abuse on the daughter, who was the boyfriend of a family friend in April. Fossler was charged and booked with rape and internet stalking of a child on July 11th. But the 67-year-old was soon released on $50,000 bond with a court hearing. So question is, was it justified? Last Tuesday, Heather and her husband, Aaron Spencer, 36, now faces first-degree murder charges. So this was the idea that the prosecution were thinking that this was premeditated, basically. They woke up to their dog barking. When they went to check on their daughter, they found the 14-year-old teen missing. Aaron got into his truck to find the teen girl while a a 911 call was made. I believe it's probably say call there, but was made to the police. Shortly after the father found the 67-year-old man with their daughter as he fled the scene by a car. A chase ensued with Fosler taking off with their daughter in tow. Aaron was able to grab her after the fleeing car crashed, but was allegedly attacked, leading to him to shoot and kill the 67-year-old. The incident led to Aaron Spencer being charged with first-degree murder. Heather, who is the wife of Aaron Spencer, has vehemently supported her husband, calling him a hero and asking for donations to keep the family following her husband's arrest. This is something that I also think that every defendant should be afforded the right. This is why when I saw Karen Reed receive the support that she did and she was garnering the donations, I think that this is something that as a society we should be behind. The defendant being able to use the system like this, irrespective of whether you think that they are guilty or not. They, in my opinion, they deserve to defend themselves to the full capacity of the law, irrespective of what you might think of them. The reason why I say that is because, of course, Karen Reed in her case was lambasted basically for hiring the legal defense that she did with the funds that she was able to raise. And I think if you apply that to in this particular scenario, how does that work? Because end of the day, he shouldn't, if he doesn't have the money to defend himself properly, he could go down for what could be legally defined as a justifiable killing. Because in Arkansas, let me just go to the criminal code that they have. In Arkansas, it is actually, it is entitled saying using the deadly force in defense of a person. So this case, based on the circumstances, it could fit into the criteria that he had to do this because he was defending his daughter that was being abused by this man. Not only that, she was missing and he found her in his vehicle. Naturally, you would think, okay, what are you doing with my daughter? She is only 14. She is in danger. So therefore, I should be allowed to kill him. It sounds, that's the bare bones interpretation of the law. It sounds heinous. How could someone be allowed to kill somebody? But it's the same thing as self-defense. If, like, you should be allowed to defend yourself, even if it resulted in the killing of another person. So the point I'm trying to make is, if he doesn't have that opportunity to defend himself to the fullest degree, the system can put this man that could be innocent in jail. You know, he deserves that fair trial, is my point. But anyway, moving on. If a family takes a search for justice into their own hands, in her post, she said the family had a no-contact order in place for Fosler due to the stalking. We absolutely called 911 during the entire event. Heather Spencer wrote, "We had no idea that this man was in contact with our child again. He was waiting 6 to 9 felonies for what he did, not 2. He was looking at the rest of his perfect life in jail, and our daughter was the only witness. Some things we will never know, but we know that the police department afforded this period of privacy. They did not give our family." The post continued, "I'm deeply offended by the way this was handled by the sheriff's office." So the sheriff's office at the time responded to say, the police at the time responded to say, "I absolutely do not support predators," Staley said. "I'm a daddy. I have 3 daughters. I know she's hurt right now, but there's absolutely nobody I would put ahead of our children, their children, my children." The sheriff said law enforcement doesn't file charges and they submit evidence to a prosecuting attorney who will decide whether or not to file charges. So everyone you can just based on this post alone, I think that this is probably the best source to kind of give the impression that of what people were probably thinking at the time. So this is, so in my opinion, people were thinking, okay, this case is gonna go away, and nothing more is gonna come from this. But then, as Random Girl has pointed out here, the gag order kept it quiet for a long time. So she's right, because I believe it was only after this the Arkansas Supreme Court had ruled that the gag order was excessive and it wasn't constitutional, that the judge had made an error in giving this gag order out, because what the prosecution, I'm not going to go through the gag order ruling, but what the prosecution was basically arguing is that that they're not going to get a fair trial if this case was played out or there was not sufficient restrictions in place for how this case is going to be discussed in the public media. I'm guessing it's because of the fact that it's because of the fact that the mother was going through the donations and all of that and speaking to the press about it, that's why they felt what they felt. Random Girl says the teenager was the only witness to Fussler's crimes. What if the Fussler's purpose was to harm her so that she couldn't testify? Absolutely. This is just what you've brought up here is just more reasons why Fussler, in my opinion, why there would be more justification that he was to do this. So I think the judge might let it go so that a trier of facts can judge it for themselves. But anyway, let me continue on. More details. Let me see. More details out on the Let me start again. More details in 2025. More details were released about Aaron Spencer's case, especially about the man that was accused of molesting his daughter. And this was after the gag order was lifted. It says, we now have a clear picture of what happened the night Aaron Spencer killed Michael Fussler. So what wasn't available to the article that we shared earlier was now made available. And this was in June 2025. This was when the case picked up, because like I said, I found the case on Twitter and I was already going to bed. So I saw two of my favorite lawyers, like Andrea Burkhardt and Defense Diaries podcast. They were going at it and they were discussing this case and they were discussing the law, etc. And I was like, whoa, I need to look into this case more. And this is when I did, I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting, because I always try to put my feet in the camp that's being accused and the victim's camp. So we now have a clear picture of what happened the night Aaron Spencer killed Michael Fussler, a Lonoke County man who had previously been arrested and charged with sexual offenses against Spencer's teenage daughter. The court records had been sealed pursuant to a broad gag ordered from Circuit Judge Barbara Elmore, but last month the Arkansas Supreme Court struck down the gag order. According to records obtained by Arkansas Times, Spencer initially called 911. Spencer initially called 911 just after 1 a.m. on October 8th, 2024, to report his 13-year-old daughter missing. Spencer told the police he had been awakened by his dog barking, went to his daughter's room to check on her, and she was missing. So I believe in the order that was given that I read, it said that the coach, Rustler's coat was in the bed and it was wrapped around the teddy bear. So that's how they knew that's how he knew anyway, who it probably might be, and then went out to do what he did. Spencer, he said he suspected she was with Fosler, 67, who has been arrested in July and charged with 43 counts, including sexual assault of a minor and internet stalking of a child, related to Fosler's pursuit of Spencer's then 13-year-old daughter. So I'm going to look more into Fosler, and then maybe we can discuss him more in depth to go through all of this for next week's show. But for now, I'm only gonna keep it with Aaron Spencer. Anyway, moving on. The arrest affidavit for Spencer says he went to look for his daughter and Fosler after calling 911 the first time. The Lenoir County Sheriff's Office contacted Cabot. I believe that's Cabot Police, or I don't know how it's pronounced. I'm reading it as if it's French. Anyway, moving on. Let me move on to ask them to check a specific address prior to hearing back from Cabot Police. However, 911 dispatch got a second call from Spencer, who said he had located the man who kidnapped his daughter and his daughter, but that Fosler was dead on the side of the road and that he had no choice. All of this is going to be something that is going to be key in the argument of the trial, because I'm pretty sure this is going to be argued at trial to basically justify and show why he did what he did and why he said he had no choice to do this, because I'm thinking he must have understood that he had to defend his daughter one way or the other. The affidavit contains Spencer's recounting of how the deadly interaction unfolded. Spencer saw Fosler's white Ford F-150 turn into Highway 236 East towards Fosler's home. So immediately you gain the idea that there was likely, especially with him knowing that Fosler has already been indicted for this crime. Actually, let me take that back. I don't actually know if he knew at the time. So let me just say allegedly, or I'm speculating. I believe he may have known, he may not have known. But the point is, with the mindset already that the daughter was missing, he was probably thinking no good is gonna come from it, because irrespective of whether he knew that Fosler had already assaulted his child or not, irrespective of that, you would still naturally believe that if a man has a 14-year-old daughter and she's missing, no good is gonna come from that scenario. You're not gonna have good thoughts. You're not gonna think that they're playing patty cake or playing catch in the backyard. I mean, even if that turned out to be the case, I'm not saying that's what happened. You would still naturally believe that danger could ensue. He turned around and chased after Fosler's vehicle, flashing his lights and honking his horn to get Fosler to pull over. When the two vehicles arrived at the intersection of highways 236 East and 13 North, Spencer rammed his truck into the rear of Fosler's, sending the F-150 into the ditch. The affidavit continues. Spencer then stated that he exited his vehicle with his firearm in hand and ordered Fosler out of his vehicle and to lay down in the ditch. Spencer stated that he observed his daughter trying to exit the passenger side of the vehicle, but it appeared that Fosler had grabbed her and stopped her from getting out. Now, remember when we went through that law immediately? That's going to be something that they are going to argue in court. Definitely going to argue this in court, and they're going to need these facts established, because this is what Spencer accounts. They might also bring in court, if it gets there, that there were probably cameras around that could attest to this fact. Maybe the judge might strike it out and be like, we're not going to get this case to the jury because we believe that factually, by the law, he was acting in accordance to the law. And I think that this particular part here, actually, I don't know how that argument, I don't know if if the judge might do that, but I'm just thinking that because it's written the way it did, and it fits here, that maybe she should consider it. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, but it appeared that Fazla had grabbed her and stopped her from getting out. So that would cause someone to be enraged, in my opinion anyway. Spencer then stated that Fazla exited his vehicle and had something in his hand. Now, this now becomes some, of course, this has to be settled in court, but you have to now picture the scenario of not only defending someone else, but now defending yourself. If he did have something in his hand, you could have a reasonable suspicion that your own life is going to be in danger. But Spencer did not know what it was. Spencer stated that Fazla then lunged towards him, saying, "F you." Spencer stated that he then opened fire on Fazla, emptying his weapon before jumping on top of Fazla and pistol whipping him. So Spencer then stated that he got his daughter out of the vehicle and returned to his truck, where he reloaded his weapon and called 911. According to the police report, Spencer shot Fazla in the chest, arms, and abdomen with a Glock 19 Gen 4 pistol. The report does not say how many times each body part was hit, though a standard magazine for a Glock 19 holds 15 rounds. Regarding the pistol whipping of Fazla, the report notes there was blood on the outside of the weapon when police recovered it. Spencer bonded out of Lenox County Jail the following day. The case quickly drew attention in both inside Arkansas. On November 27th, prosecutors charged Spencer with second-degree murder and commission of felony with a firearm. So the reason why I wanted to go through that is, well, I mean, when you look at those established facts, in my opinion, you have to really look at excessive force and physical force. I can understand the defending somebody else. I can understand that defending someone's life, therefore that's fine. I can also understand defending your own life. Let's assume Spencer is right and he saw, I don't know, whatever he probably saw, he had a reasonable fear for his particular life. Therefore, at this point, you would think, okay, you can shoot the guy, or you can even send a warning shot out. But we heard in the affidavit, it stated that he was already pistol whipping him and he had restrained him to the ground. Legally, at that point, unless he posed more threat, and this is something maybe this is why he's not going to get struck out by the judge, and he needs a trier of fact to put together what happened. Because at that point, you have to then question, well, was he going to leave? Was Rosler going to leave at that point? Was he going to leave both the daughter and Aaron alone to go in their own merry way, or was he going to attack them again? Because if he turned around and posed further threat, then you can understand why he decided to shoot the guy. We don't have the facts to establish this, in my opinion anyway, because what I personally think probably happened that night, and I don't have anything else, is he restrained him to the floor, and then he shoots him. And this is just based on how the affidavit is written. I'm getting the picture in my head that he's shooting him right there and there when he had already put him to the floor and restrained him. So when I look at that, that looks like, especially that, you can argue that at the same time he had to do it because he seemed like a constant threat. If that wasn't the case and something new comes out to show that he wasn't actually a threat to Aaron, then this case is up in arms, because end of the day, there is excessive force. Like, you gotta look at the fact that he shot him 3 times. Wow, based on the wounds anyway, I can only ascertain that it's 3 times. Is that excessive? Because 1 shot to the thigh could be enough to be like, you know what, the rest can and then walk away. But I think that this is, in my opinion, a bit excessive, because you shot him in the chest, he's going to die at that point. Then the abdomen. What else did he say he shot him at? And the arm. So we now have to know, where did it start? If it started at the arm, then he goes to the chest. Maybe he wasn't aiming properly. Maybe he wasn't really focused on his aim. But end of the day, this is where the argument is falling under, which is reasonable force. Because, like, for example, we covered the Ashley Benefield case, for example. We know that she was going through a domestic violence incident in our relationship. We also know from the Ashley Benefield case that that Doug Benefield had killed, well, not killed, I mean, let me rephrase that, not killed, I said the wrong word, that he had beaten up the family dog, he had hit the family dog, all those things. We know that he has had an abusive past, but based on the law, she shot him. You can feel sympathy for the fact that she went through all of that, but based on the law, she shot him at the back. And you can't do that, because end of the day, the threat is gone. If he saw the gun, if Doug Benefield had seen the gun at that particular time and then ran away, the threat is neutralized, because you successfully deterred, well, I'll say for her, she successfully deterred Doug Benefield from going at her. So when you look at that, you have to now apply that kind of same thinking. And I know that the Benefield case was in Florida, so they might have different laws in Arkansas. I appreciate and I understand that, but I'm believing that the same common law rule will still apply. So when you now look at this particular Aaron Spencer case, and I get it, the guy is a monster. Rosler is a monster, and what he did, especially to his daughter, is not right. I personally do think that everything up to the point that the father was doing to protect his daughter, going to the car, ramming it off the road, fighting with him, pistol whipping him, all those things were justified in my own personal opinion, because it's understandable. The spirit of the law is protecting for that. I mean, I'm guessing that that's why Arkansas made that code. Because the spirit of the law is protecting that. Let me go back to the code and just read it. It says, let me just go back to it quickly. It says here, a person is justified using deadly force upon another person if the person reasonably. That's not even a high bar. I mean, just by the word reasonable, that doesn't seem like the highest bar to reach. Reasonably believes that the other person is committing or about, and this is the key part here, about, and maybe there is, and I'm pretty sure there are jury instructions to guide this. I'm going to look more into that side to, if anything develops in this case, and then we will continue to give updates on these weekly streams. But I'm just reading this from this part here. It says about. So what he was doing, the fighting, the pistol whipping, all those things, that's in the spirit of the law and is recognized. But is the shooting? Because if he recovered the daughter and then walked away, and then just based on what we're reading, Michael Kozler goes at him more, because all I have is him saying F you, and I don't know whether he said F you when he was being pistol whipped or something like. I don't know if he said it then or when he was walking away and then he said F you and then charging against him or something like that. I don't know the story, but if it was F you charging against him, then I would understand why he would take the measure that he did, because he now moves away from the realm of defending another person to defending himself, in my opinion, based on what I have understood of Code 606, which is defending yourself, and Code 607, which is defending another person. So, Random Girl says, I don't know, I think we might have to agree to disagree on this one. Yeah. That's I would like to know where you're coming from, Random Girl. So let me know in the chat where you're coming from. But those are my opinions. Those are what I personally think, because I think that there are instances in which people can, I mean, putting myself in his shoes, in Aaron Spencer's shoes, I can see the instance in which you are still worried of what this guy may have done to your daughter, and that might spill over. And sometimes the law is not going to recognize this particular fact and be like, yeah, it spilled over, but tough, like you could have walked away or something like that, which is why I brought in the Ashley Benefield case, because I personally think that in that moment that Ashley was facing Doug, all of the abuse that she felt probably run right back. How traumatic memories, how trauma works is what I'm trying to say. So that may have happened in that particular scenario, and then she shoots Doug, even if he had run away, and even if it was established that they had DV in the relationship and all of those things, even if that happened, I can understand why it wouldn't make sense to shoot someone that has turned his back against you and is leaving your presence. That's the part I'm getting at, but I'm not saying that that's what happened here. I don't have enough facts, but I'm saying based on what's established and based on what's given out so far is what I'm going to say. Based on the information available so far, I understand why he would take the steps that he did. I can understand why he would shoot the guy or want to kill him, especially with the fact that he's already offended. So I don't know if he knew that before or not. I don't know. But what I'm focused on, or what I'm trying to basically say, is that, in my opinion, when you look at the wounds, the shot wounds that he had, the arm, the chest, and the abdomen, you could argue, okay, why didn't you just stop at the arm? You could argue that, because the part I'm coming from is excessive force anyway. Shoot him, leave the scene. I'm pretty sure after someone gets shot, you would wanna, you're not gonna turn your back on him straight away. That's not what I'm suggesting. He's not gonna turn his back on him straight away and be like, I'm gonna walk away now. You seem neutralized. That's not what's gonna happen logically. He's gonna wait there for a bit and see what happens, whether he's still going to attack him, etc. And this is something that I believe is gonna go to trial. I know that a lot of people were saying is going to get probably jury notification because of the facts of the case and it involving the daughter, the sexual predator history, all of those things. And I get it, but I don't know. There might be some people out there that believe actually he's a bad person, but I don't think he should have done what he did. He could have he already called the police. They were already on the way. He neutralized them on the floor when he pistol whipped them, all those things. Some people might take it like that. I have no idea. But I'm just basically, I don't think what he did was illegal. Definitely not illegal. We just went through the statute. I think based on what I've understood of the case and the limited information I have, I may have overlooked something. Let me know in the comments. Bring me any other news source out there that I need to consider. But based on all that I've researched on this case and understood of this case, I just personally think that it was probably excessive. That's just where I'm coming from. It was probably excessive, and that's why the prosecution, or the prosecutors, that's why the prosecutors decided to charge him and take it to court. How successful would it be? I have no idea, but I definitely think it's something that I don't think it's good to encourage excessive force. In my opinion, I think deterring someone is fine, but I think if you were to, like, for example, if he was to have unloaded all 15 rounds on him, I don't think that's right, especially when you've already called the police and they're coming. Like, that doesn't compute to me. Like, I'm not saying he's wrong for what he did. What I'm trying to say is he went overboard. And yes, in that context, yes, I heard it, I understand. That means, yeah, he's wrong. But objectively, is wrong. Yes, legally, yes, he is wrong. But in terms of the context, the daughter, all those things, he's not wrong to take the steps that he did. That's where I'm coming from. He's not wrong to take the steps that he did, but there are limits. That's where I'm coming from, and I don't see the problem in which he was charged. I see why he will be charged, because you gotta think some people out there can abuse this. I'm not saying that's what happened here, but they can use this to just justify some acts, that just because they have a reasonable belief that something may go wrong, and then they use it to get their way. I'm not saying that's what happened here, but I'm saying there's a massive difference between excessive force and using the right amount of force to get that person that is in danger to be safe, or get yourself who is in danger to be safe. That's where I'm coming from anyway. So anyway, let's go on to our next case, because the next case is very similar. Not really similar in the sense that there was a criminal going after, not in a sense that there was a criminal as the victim and the perpetrator was the one trying to protect someone. Not in that similarity, but more of similar in terms of someone arguing self-defense. And this is the case of Lawrence Dority. Let me get the stream up. I did not. Oh gosh, I have so many tabs open. All right, so let me get a stream up. So Lawrence Dority trial. So before I go into that, let me just read Random Girl's message. So it says, I don't know, man. I'm sure how Texas law differs from Arkansas law. I have to look into it. Yeah, I mean, I personally think definitely listen to the lawyers that have been talking about this case, because they would know a lot more about the differences in this. The reason why I was using Florida law as well, like, you know, the Florida case, was because it has similar facts. But of course, the law would differ in both states. But in regards to Lawrence Dority, he had killed former NBA star Adrien Payne after a dispute at his particular home. And even based on the facts of the case that was established, it was not really clear whether he was in a dispute with Adrien Payne or whether it was with his girlfriend, because that is what happened. They based on the testimony given from his ex-girlfriend, from Adrien Payne's girlfriend, Tara Walker, I believe her name is, she was giving testimony in regards to Adrien. Both of them coming back from a party. Adrien was running a bit late, so when he arrived at the party, before he arrived at the party, I should say, both the defendant Lawrence Dority and his girlfriend, I believe her name was I don't know. I don't think it was Maya, but anyway, both him and his girlfriend were having an argument. Therefore, he was already angry, and also we heard from Tara Walker that he was not just angry but also likely intoxicated. So I want to go into the testimony in which he gave about the accounts that night. I'm also going to be I'm also in this case as well, because Lawrence Dority pleaded self-defense. He also had to take the stand and testify on his behalf. So I'm gonna focus only on 3 key witnesses to go through this particular case. And Tara Walker was giving testimony about what happened before reaching Lawrence Dority's residence and why they had essentially went there. She testifies to have received a call and a text message from the friend Tatiana Meza, who was the girlfriend of Lawrence Dority, and that's how they basically knew each other. Because you have to wonder, how does Lawrence Dority even know who Adrien Payne was? Just looking at the guy, but that's how that was the common link, because of the person that he was dating. And then after that, he says Lawrence and her got into an argument. Sorry, Lawrence and Meza got into an argument when she was there. Let's go and take a listen.
And did you inform him of what you were doing?
Yes.
I guess, did he decide to come to that area as well?
Correct. He said he was coming off the highway and that he would meet me there.
So what happens when you first arrive at the area of the defendant's residence?
Larry, his father, is parked in the middle of the street near the stop sign, and Adrien's car is about 7 houses down, and Lawrence and him are outside of the car having a conversation.
Okay. And so you witnessed them having a conversation. What did you do from there?
I stopped in the middle of the street. Larry was standing outside of his vehicle. I rolled down my window. I lowered my phone down because I was on the phone with Adrien. And he told me to get back, that he was going to get his gun. And I was like, what?
So let me stop you. Who told you to get back? He was going to get his gun?
Larry.
Larry said he was going to?
Larry did, yes, correct.
Okay.
And I was like, what are you talking about, Larry? That's Adrien, that's Armani's dad, that's my boyfriend. And then he said, oh, that's a big fella, I'd never seen him before. And I was like, yeah.
And this is Larry, again, this is your understanding of Lawrence, the defendant's dad?
Correct.
So then what happened from there?
So I put the phone back to my ear. I was looking straight. I see that Adrien has his arm on top of the car. And he has one arm over the door. He's in between the crease of the door. Lawrence is standing on the side of him. And I heard him say something like, get on, Lawrence, I'm not worried about you. Lawrence backed up. Adrien closed the door. Lawrence walked to the house, and Adrien walked over to me.
Okay. So at this point, the defendant has gone back inside the house?
Yeah, so we were about 7 houses down from his house, so he walked through the back, like on the grass, maybe around his backyard.
And then you have a conversation with Adrien.
Correct. He walks over to me. He walks in the middle. Larry is still there. He's getting into his car. They kind of just like nod heads. He gets in his car. He reverses and he pulls to the front of the driveway. Adrien's talking to me. I asked him, "Are you okay, babe?" He said, "Yeah." "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah." "Go back to your car and just pull up and I'm going to park right here," which was like guest parking on the side of the house.
And did he go back to his car?
He did, yes.
Now, in that interaction that you had with him, did you observe him to be armed with any firearm?
No.
Did you observe him to be armed with any other weapons, like a knife or anything like that?
No.
So he didn't even have any weapons on him. He didn't even, he wasn't even, he being Adrien Payne was not even a threat really. So therefore, why would this happen? And I personally believe that this is what led to the guilty verdict that was adjudicated. I think it only took 2 hours or maybe 2 to 4 hours for the jury to come to the decision that they did. But we heard from the girlfriend who was speaking with him. She was the reason why he was even coming to that particular residence. And he wasn't, and based on what she said, he was not harmed. So now let's go into the testimony that was given. So now let's go into the testimony that was given in he got really emotional in the courtroom at this point, where it could be seen that she was clearly distressed about what she was seeing when recounting all of this. Not recounting, but when she was listening to the audio, going through what happened that particular night. I hope on your end is not messing up, because for some reason it's not coming up on my end properly. But let me just go to it. Okay.
He was getting out the car. He was handing.
All right. So something is wrong. Okay, let me try and fix this, because for some reason my screen is not sharing properly. Okay, let me go to it. I hope that works. Yeah, that's working fine now. All right, let's move on.
Can you have a conversation?
The steering wheel, and I said, "Babe, don't get out the car. I'm gonna go see what's going on with Tatiana." And I turned around. I probably took about 5 steps, and then I seen Lawrence coming from in between the cars. Like, there was another car and then a Mercedes, which is his car, and he had his arm under his shirt, and he came to the edge of it. I stopped. I asked him not to draw his weapon. What was he doing? His dad was asking, what was he doing, son?
Hearsay. Sustained.
So this is giving the events before the ring camera was played, like I mentioned earlier, and this was the account of her seeing Lawrence pull the gun out as he was coming into the house. So he goes into the house. That was so every event that was happening where she was telling Adrien Payne to come in and essentially park up where the residence, Lawrence Dority was already in the house. Now that Adrien Payne has parked up, Lawrence comes out of the house. This is where he takes out the gun and then proceeds to fire the bullets.
Not getting into what anybody else was saying, what did you observe?
He came down to the end with a gun under his shirt. He took the gun out of his shirt. I asked him not to raise his weapon. I started to yell his name, Lawrence. And then from there, he asked us he asked, "Why are you here?" He asked a couple times, maybe like 2 to 3 times. And I tried to explain to him, Tatiana asked me to be here.
Okay. And so at some point after he's walked out, he's now taken his firearm out.
Yeah.
And where was he when he had the firearm out? How far was he from Adrien's vehicle?
Not far. He was at the end of their street. I mean, at the end of the grass, the neighbors. So I don't know how to explain it unless I show you.
Walked down. Let me have a photo.
Okay, so as we heard there, he had fired his weapon. He had taken his gun out, and he was telling Adrien to leave before he had fired his weapon. So that part where he said he had told Adrien to leave, that was the bulk of the cross-examination. But before we get to that particular part, let's just look at what was going on when the ring camera footage was played. Yeah, this part is honestly disturbing to watch, if I'm being honest.
What are you saying there?
Do not pull your gun out.
Okay. Let me go back a little bit so that you guys can see. There we go. YB in the chat, I appreciate you for coming in. Thank you so much for joining Young Black Economist. She's an amazing creator. Definitely go check her out. But so we saw the footage play there. Now let's go into what she said after about the scene and what she had and her account of it.
And what are you saying there?
Do not pull your gun out.
So in the video, she was saying, "Do not pull your gun out." You can hear it.
I want to stop there. You said something after "do not pull your gun out." What was it that you said?
Lawrence? I didn't. Me?
We hear some yelling there. Who was yelling?
Larry.
Larry would be
His father.
So, are these two individuals, and I'll have to look at the screen behind. Who is this? And then who is this person? You hear a person saying, "Get in the house." Whose voice is that?
Lawrence.
The defendant?
Correct.
Come here! Oh my God, please! Right now! Please,
I'm going to pause here. If you could look at the screen behind you. You see my laser pointer? Who is this person?
Lawrence.
That's the defendant.
Correct.
help me! Please! I don't know the address!
Okay, so that was the testimony in regards to his particular death and what happened that night. So we heard on the camera, it says, "Do not pull the gun out. Do not pull the gun out." So he was being told to relax, and that, as we can see from all of that, I mean, it says we can only see parked cars, so we can't see what Adrien Payne was doing in that particular time, but we can see that likely he was still in his car. So immediately I'm thinking he must have shot immediately, and there was no time for him to leave if he was signaling to leave. But if Lawrence Dority was signaling for him to leave the scene, that's what I'm gathering from this, because the light was still on, so maybe he was planning to leave. That's really important to know from this. And I'm assuming that the light here is from his vehicle, because I don't think that's a natural light for a street light to be on. If that, and I'm comparing that to this particular light here and this light here, that's not near a house. It just seems like Adrien was likely going to leave, in my opinion. Maybe that's why the jury reached the guilty verdict that they did. But moving on to that cross-examination, she was asked really what had essentially happened when she had told Lawrence Dority, what happened when Lawrence Dority went into the house, and what she was telling Adrien Payne to basically do. Let's go and watch that testimony.
During this verbal altercation, Mr. Dority walks away into his home, right?
Yes.
But before he did that, he actually asked Adrien Payne, "Why are you here?" Right?
I can't recall, but I've said it.
You were on the scene, right?
Correct.
Are you saying you didn't hear it, or you just don't remember?
He's asked him that he asked that question when he was sitting in the car behind me.
You said we were sitting in
When he was sitting in the car behind me, he asked that question.
Who was sitting in the car behind you?
Adrien.
Behind your car?
No, I was standing in front of his doorway when he got shot. I didn't know if he was talking to me or Adrien.
So at this point, we get from this testimony that Adrien was likely still in his car, and she was the only person that was out. So why would Lawrence feel anything? Why would Lawrence feel any kind of threat of Adrien? I can understand why you would get the idea that someone is coming to your house and you don't know who they are. So therefore, you need to do something. But is it reasonable to go into your house and pull out a gun and subsequently shoot the person? Based on what? So, okay, I know nothing about this case. YBE says we'll just try and pick up as much as I can from listening. Now, I'm gonna do my best to like sum it all up, because I'm trying to crunch so much of the testimony that was given. It was only a day though, so it was actually a case that was tried. The evidence was presented in under 6 hours, and then on day 2, that was the closing arguments, I should say, and then the jury decided literally on day 2 it was over. So that was the bulk of the case. And we have to now go into Lawrence Dority's testimony to kind of understand what his side is and what he was saying occurred that night. Let's just hear this guy out. Hold on, hear him out.
And you actually live in this situation. You recall what happened on May 9th, 2022?
Yes, I do.
Did you explain to the court and the jury what happened?
Well, around 1:30 in the morning, me, my son, and my dad went to my house. My father was taking me and my son home. And as we arrived, I see the car parked at the corner of my home, and I automatically assumed it was Tara. So I thought it was weird that she was parked right there, because she would typically park in the driveway or in front of the house. And so I walk over there to greet her, to say, hey, why are you parked here? And Mr. Payne gets out of the car. And when he gets out of the car, he's looking down at me. He has his hand in his waistband, and I can see like something silver sticking out on the side of his hip with his hand on it. And I asked him, what are you doing here? And he said, I'm not playing with you, I'll smoke you. I said, what? I threw my hands in the air and I started freaking out. My dad rolls down the window and asked me, is everything okay? And I told him, I don't know.
Okay, so let's go to the whiteboard. Well, my playbook really quickly. So remember, he has said that Adrien got out of the car.
So I go inside of my home. I retrieve my firearm so I could safely get my son in the house. And so as I return back outside, I see Mr. Payne has moved his car up even more. And he's gotten out of his car again. And so I'm standing in my driveway and I'm asking him, why are you here? What are you doing here? Why are you here? Can you please leave? Can you please leave? And he's just staring at me.
That's his testimony. He just stared at him. Okay, let's go back to complete the portion of Tara Walker's testimony to get the idea of what was happening around that time that he got out of the house. Gone back into the house and was beginning to come out. This is still the cross-examination.
Isn't it true that instead of Mr. Payne leaving, when Mr. Dority went in the house, Lawrence Dority, he moved his car up closer to the home, correct?
I asked him to.
You asked him to do that.
Yes.
But it's correct.
That's key.
Correct. He did, in fact, move his car closer to the home, correct?
Correct.
This is
Okay, let's go back to the playbook for a minute. So, Tara Walker based on her testimony, asked Adrien, please move the car closer. To move the car closer. If anybody who feels anyone's life would be in danger, technically it will be Tara, because if she heard that she asked him to leave, two things is coming into my mind at this point. She doesn't take him seriously, and I don't know why he's saying that for. That's if he said it. I'm going by the fact that he actually said this thing and it's true. So Tara was the one that asked him to move closer. Okay, now let's go back to the video.
1:30 in the morning, at least, correct?
Correct.
How tall was Mr. Payne? About 5? No, he was 6'10", right? 247 pounds, correct?
I can't say 240.
Big guy. Is it fair to say he's a big guy? Okay. You're aware of how tall Mr. Dority is? Lawrence, he's about 5'8", right? Right. But you also told Mr. Payne to get back in the car, right? You actually verbalized to him to get back in the car.
I asked him to go to his car and pull his car up.
So, based on that, at one point, we have to get the idea that we now got the idea that at one point, Adrien got out of the car. So if we are to marry the two stories together, Adrien was likely already out of the car. And based on what Lawrence had testified to, he had told him to leave, and Adrien was not having it, basically. Was shouting at him, doing all those things. We heard already from Tara's direct exam that he wasn't doing that, but to take his story to be what it is, this would mean he got back into the car to move the car closer. He has to do that. That has to be the case. So let's now go and listen to the rest of the cross-examination. I'm not gonna go back to Tara's testimony. I've got what I need to establish all of this. I wanna focus now on Lawrence Dority's testimony.
I have to get my son safe. I didn't know. I just thought he was gonna kill me and my son and my father, and I didn't know what was gonna happen.
When you came back outside, and you had this firearm. First of all, did you have a concealed weapon permit?
Yes, sir.
So had you taken self-defense classes before?
Yes, sir.
When you came out, did you have any additional words or anything was said by you at that time?
Yes.
What was that, if anything?
I said, can you please leave? Why are you here? Can you please leave? What are you here for?
Can you please leave? What are you here for?
And what was the response that you got?
He didn't say anything. He was just staring at me.
And then at some point, you felt the need to discharge your weapon. How many shots did you take?
One. I saw him. I was saying, why are you here? You need to leave. You need to leave. You need to leave. Why are you here?
How were you saying it? Were you saying it softly, or how did you say it?
Like, why are you here? What are you here for?
Were you talking to him?
I don't know.
Could he hear you?
Yes.
How do you know he could hear you?
Because he was staring at me, and it wasn't far. It's like from here to the end of the courtroom. Like, it wasn't far.
When you came out the house, or at the time when you took a shot?
I mean, I was in my driveway the whole time.
So
Did
we heard
Mr.
that right
Payne
there. I was in my
hear it
driveway the
reach
whole time.
or something? Or?
I was in my driveway the whole time. Asked him to leave. He didn't want to leave. We get the idea that he was posing a danger to Lawrence because he was in fear for his particular son. He didn't want anything to happen to him, so therefore he was in fear. Based on everything that he said, Adrien was still outside. So let's record that down. Adrien was outside of his car, threatening Lawrence Dority. So now that we have that established, let's continue on to the next part of his testimony, because this part is wild. So remember, Adrien was outside of the vehicle, and now he's basically posing a threat to Lawrence. Let's listen to this particular part of his testimony about what he said that Adrien's actions were.
Yes. When I was saying, why are you here? You need to leave. You need to leave. Why are you here? I seen him going like this, pulling his hand up, like he's raising a gun towards me. And I shot one time, and I called the police, and I put my son in the house.
And before we get to that point, at some point, you stated when you went in the house and came back out that his vehicle was even closer than it was at first when you first encountered him. Is that true?
So let's record that. Back to the playbook. Adrien raised his gun at him. Okay, let's go back and listen to the rest of his testimony.
Is that a yes?
Yes, sir.
So he moved the vehicle. Adrien moved the vehicle closer to the house when he was inside the house. He got out of the house, and then he told him to leave. After getting out of the house, Adrien must have pulled the gun and pointed it at him at this point, which caused him to shoot him in the car, according to him anyway.
So after the fire, after you discharged your weapon, you called 911? I need you to speak into the microphone.
Yes, sir.
Did you remain?
I'm not normally the guy to do this, but I would zoom in to see if any tear is actually in his face. I would actually zoom in to see that. I don't normally look at all of those things. I don't look at the demeanor or try to work out the body language or anything like. I don't usually care for things like that, but I'm noticing here because I'm just like, okay, it's traumatic for you. I can look the other way, but I don't see any tears. I just don't see it. But I'm digressing. So on cross-examination, he probably gave the most bizarre testimony when he was being cross-examined as to why he had the belief that Adrien was encroaching on his property when he was objectively, we could see through the video that he was not really on his property. So let's listen to what was going on in this interaction.
Now, you mentioned in your direct testimony that you were concerned for your son and for your father who were present at the time of the shooting, right? Is that yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I apologize.
But even by your own telling, there was never any threat by the victim made to your son, right?
Objection argumentative, Your Honor.
Overruled.
There was never any threat made by the victim to your son, right?
Correct.
Is that correct?
I said correct.
And there was never any threat made by the victim to your father, right?
Correct. It doesn't have to be made to them, though.
Okay. Now, you would also agree that where the victim was parked was not your property, right?
The neighborhood is considered my property. I don't own the neighborhood, but it's my dwelling. That's where I live.
Oh my gosh. I don't own the neighborhood, but I consider the neighborhood to be my property. Oh.
Okay. But to be clear, Mr. Payne never set foot in your house, right?
No.
Okay, let's go back to the whiteboard scene. So I'm not, even though he said he considered the neighborhood to be his property, it is established that Payne never went into his house. That's important. So
He never stepped foot on that piece of grass in front of your house.
He may have.
Okay. Do you remember previous time?
Key point. He may have stepped on the grass. This is implying that Adrien got out of the car. He must have got out of the car if he was to step foot on the grass, causing him to shoot.
Testimony in a hearing? In a courtroom like this?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So now let's listen to the next testimony, the next piece of evidence. And this is a detective, well, not a detective, the police officer that was responding to the scene. He was the first witness up. He goes by the name of, forgot his name, damn it. Bear with me for a second, let me try and pull it up. Okay, he goes by the name of Corporal Garrett Morris. He was the one to have been administering CPR and all those things to Adrien when he got to the scene. In my opinion, his testimony was crucial in order to get this guilty verdicts, really, because after we've now heard everything from Tara to Lawrence Dority, his testimony is probably the most objective testimony because it's what he saw when he got to the scene. Let's watch.
Okay. Did he appear to be injured?
Yes, he had a gunshot wound to his chest, and he was unresponsive.
Was anyone else near the victim when you arrived?
Yes, the defendant's father was near the victim, and so was the victim's girlfriend.
So the defendant's father would be the one that was saying Christ in the body cam footage, or Christ, I can't believe this was happening, etc. I will leave the link to this trial in the description so that you can go watch it for yourself. But I'm just going through the highlight reel basically.
And what happened from there once you arrived, located the victim, and realized he had a gunshot wound? What did you do?
At that point, I put on my gloves and I got him out of the vehicle. The defendant's father assisted a little bit, and then I started CPR.
And you started CPR once he was out of the vehicle on the ground?
Yes, I pulled him out of the vehicle into a flat, hard surface, and that's when I began CPR.
Now, as part of anytime you're going to perform CPR and walking into an unusual situation, is it part of your protocol to check for weapons?
Generally speaking, yes. Whenever, if I were to respond to a call where maybe there was somebody who was maybe just overdosed or something like a natural causes, I may not always check for weapons, but whenever in this case there's obvious that he had been shot, I check for weapons on whoever I'm in contact with, and in that case it was the victim.
And did you locate any weapons on or about the victim's person?
No, I did not.
Now, at some point, did fire rescue arrive and take over, I guess, the CPR and life-saving measures from law enforcement?
Yes.
We heard right there from Garrett. Garrett says no weapons was located. Now that we've got that testimony, let's continue on. Listen to the last part of this day. Let's listen to the last part of this testimony.
And what happened from there as far as your involvement?
After that, I just assisted in maintaining the crime scene. I put up crime scene tape and held that area around the car until our...
Okay, so, yeah. Crime scene tape, done all that. But the main important part I want to establish is we already know that Adrien got out of the car. Adrien got out of the car. Tara was with... Tara asked Adrien to move the car. This was when he went back into the house. Tara asked Adrien to move the car outside of Lawrence Dority's presence. So at this point, Adrien must have walked back. If he was out of the car, we have to believe that Adrien was out of the car, because this was the chronology of Tara's testimony. Adrien was outside his car. So we now got to hear from Lawrence that Adrien was outside his car threatening Lawrence. We got to hear that. And Adrien raised his gun at him. Adrien also is established, he said he never went into the house, but he could have been on the grass. So objectively, he is out of the car. Now that we heard from the officer that responded to the scene, the idea that we have that Adrien, like, he even said that he was still in his seatbelt. So he was moving the car to the scene. This guy comes out and shoots. We don't hear, objectively, we don't hear what Lawrence had said on the ring footage, but we got to hear what Tara Walker, the girlfriend of Adrien, was basically saying to him. So why would he have the cause to shoot? Why would he have the idea to shoot? We heard testimony about the likelihood that he was on drugs or he was having alcohol, but it is important to remember that testimony that he was having an argument with his girlfriend. And this just seems like the most, in my opinion, this is the most senseless killing there is, because end of the day, when this one is senseless, like I said, it does not make any sense why you would go into the house to get a gun. You are the one saying, and this goes down to credibility, because he's saying that he was shouting at her, at him, all those things. but it conflicts with with Tara's testimony, because in my opinion, Tara was credible, but it conflicts with her testimony because end of the day, Tara was the one to have been saying come closer. So why would she tell him to come closer and park up if he had already been shouting at Lawrence and doing all those things? That just doesn't make sense. She, in my head, I would assume that she would just think, you know what, let's leave. This is getting a bit too heated, especially with the fact that she had already arrived and it was an argument between his girlfriend Maza as well. His girlfriend in this case, his being Lawrence Dority's girlfriend. Both of them were already having an argument. And I said earlier, I don't know what mind would she have to think that Adrien would be in danger. I have no idea, but this killing, in my opinion, was senseless. Let me know of what you think of this particular trial if you've watched it. I would. Do you think that? I mean, I'm asking a question, but I just find it very, very difficult to think that this guy had any right, because we just literally heard him say that the neighborhood was my property. He knows, like, the minute he said that Adrien was on his grass, that automatically we have to picture the idea that he was shot and he will be falling back on the grass. If he was on the grass, he will be falling back on the grass after being shot. Putting two and two together, that just doesn't make sense to me, because he was found by the officers in the car with the seatbelt on when he was performing CPR and trying to save his life. Very, very senseless. Let's go into our third case, and this is the case. This is a UK case, and I am tired of this case. If I'm being honest with you, because if you are from the UK, you would have heard about this woman called Kate. Well, this parents called Kate and Gerry McCann. Both of them they were on holiday at a Portuguese destination. I believe it was called Praia de Luz Hotel. This story is so etched into my mind because this was everywhere in 2003 when I was growing up. I was brand new in the country. I have no idea who these two white couple was, and all of a sudden we hear that their little daughter is missing, and they were on a public crusade to like try and find the daughter. They had tried to work with the Portuguese police. I'm not gonna go through the whole history because I'm not gonna lie, it was a long time ago. I'm only remembering some of the facts. They went through the Portuguese police. The Portuguese police dropped the case. They were like, oh, we don't know where your daughter is, and there was even talk that maybe she was dead, but I'm not gonna say that was officially reported. I'm just remembering the chatter at the time that there's no way that Madeline could be alive all these years. They are still looking for her in 2025. This case happened all the way back in 2003. That's not the substance of this particular trial, though, because the trial is regarding a woman that goes by the name of Julie Warbeck, as well as Karen Shagg. Karen Shagg is more of the I'm not gonna say co-conspirator, but she's a co-defendant basically, and both of them has been accused of stalking the McCann family, where Julia is basically saying that she is the missing daughter. This case is really it got headlines because that woman Julia Warbeck had went on Dr. Phil to basically say that she is Madeline McCann, and she wants to see her family. So let's just go into the trial, because the trial kicked off in, I believe it was 6th of October, I believe, 5th or 6th of October, one or two. I believe it started on Tuesday. I would have to assume it started on Tuesday, where they delivered their opening statements. Where they delivered their opening statements. The part that I want to share though from this is the idea that the prosecution detailed Wandell's tactics, including 60 calls to Kate McCann. This was the opening statement that was made back when the case started. I'm using a service called VP News. I think they go into court and report what has been happening in court. Love that service. I will leave the links to all the sources that I use, as I always do with all of my coverage of any trial. I'll leave the links to where you can find more information about it. But yes, this particular case, I'm being honest, I'm sick of it. You are just hearing this case. I have heard about the McCanns since I was a little baby. I was like 12 or 13. Like, I'm surprised that this is back. This is back in the news. But they have said, but we are gonna go into parts of a testimony. But nonetheless, it says in one voicemail. It says. Wandell's tactics include 60 calls to Kate McCann, voicemails, emails, and letters, alongside visits to the McCann's village. In one voicemail, Wandell claimed, "If I'm her, everything will be okay." Anyway, while blaming large corruption for her unrecognized identity. I can't wait to go into this, because the family has been believed. It's been a conspiracy theory going on here in the UK that the family, casting my mind back to what the chatter was when I was in school, and if I can remember properly, they were saying that they are doing this to extract more money. Not saying that this is true, by the way. I'm just saying it's just what the chatter has been going on in the all for my childhood, that they have been that the daughter is actually dead, and they're just scamming the government, scamming the people to try and raise money to find Madeline. She's actually dead. Some of them even said that they killed her they killed their own daughter to have this whole publicity run that they are having. So that's the corruption that she's referencing here. So that's the idea that I'm trying to present. She also used ChatGPT to create fake childhood images sent to Madeline's now adult sister, Amelie, introducing herself as the girl who went viral, claiming to be Madeline McCann. That's why I brought in the Dr. Phil interview. We're going to watch that interview later on, after we've gone through what the proceedings for the last 3 days of court was like. I'm only going to focus on Amelie's, Kate McCann, and also Gerry McCann's testimonies. These messages, described as deeply manipulative, formed a cornerstone of the prosecution's case, which will present forensic evidence to refute Wandell's claim. This case is currently going on in Leicester Crown Court because it's technically a misdemeanor case in the UK. In the US, if you were to call it that. But over here, it's in the Crown Court, which is not really a major trial like a murder case. That would be, I believe, in the High Court. That's where that case would be on. But anyway, moving on. Sprague's role, though less detailed, allegedly involved supporting Wandell's campaign, so that's why she's being charged as well, with both defendants united in their not guilty claims. So let's go into this particular trial, because the girl, it gets even weirder, because the person that's even claiming to be Madeline McCann, she is actually a Polish citizen. you have to wonder what on earth is going on, because how are you a Polish citizen and you claim to be Madeline McCann, an English woman? She was born in Poland. Julia Wandelt. The name is like, I digress. So this is all the I'm not gonna go through all of this, but this is all the opening statements that was given by the prosecution in court. We have already gone through it already in bits, but I want to go into this part here. It says the defendant. This is part of the opening statements. We didn't read that. It says defendant traveled to the UK for the vigil of marking Madeline McCann's disappearance. They were having a vigil. I'm not sure. Again, I haven't kept up with this case, so I don't know if the McCanns have decided that, okay, she's probably dead, so we're not going to look for her. I don't know if that's the case. I'm not saying that's the case, but this would likely be a remembrance that she went missing on this particular day. So therefore, we are having a memory, a vigil in her memory. And she traveled from Poland to the UK to attend this particular vigil. Defendant reported to the police. Court hears that Kate McCann alerted Operation Grange officers after Wandel's repeated messages, but her behavior did not stop. She handed a letter over at the vigil when she was there. She handed it over to Kate McCann's great aunt, pleading to speak with the family, and handed the letter over. We are gonna go into the into that letter later on, and then the DNA sample. She took a DNA test, a DNA test, and it was confirmed by the police that there was no prospect at all that Wandelt was Madeline. Young Black Academy says this is too much. People claiming to be missing kids, like that girl who claims to be Tupac's. Wait, this happened over there? Oh, Tupac's daughter, even though he didn't have any kids. I'm so dead. I didn't even know that. This is actually a thing. I actually didn't know this. Random girl says this case is so sad. Poor Madeline. Honestly, maybe it's just me tired. I'm not doing this any justice, because I grew up with this case bombarded in my head, and I was only a child when I knew about Madeline McCann. So, I mean, I'm sad that she is gone, and I don't think that the family should be stalked like this. At the same time, I'm like, I just don't want to hear about her anymore. Like, I'm like, if you, like, it's been 20 years. At this point, when you really think about it, 2005, 10, 2015, 2025, it's 10 years, 20 years. Is she alive, or I have no idea. But for Madeline McCann on her own, I hope that she is somewhere out there. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, the DNA was not conclusive. It was not confirmed at all. So she was also a supporter of the conspiracy theory. I told you guys about that later. And this is basically Julia. This is basically Julia. What I forgot her name already, but not important. Julia Wandelt. My bad. Julia Wandelt. This is basically Julia Wandelt. Right here, that's what she looks like. And let's move on to let's go into the testimonies. I believe it was in day 2. Kate McCann takes a stand, and she gives a bit of history in regards to when this case basically started, when her stalking essentially started. She said it started about 3 years ago, and she said that there was a group that was set up to find Madeline. So this was this was a group of, she said it was a group of people who we did not know set up an organization called Find Madeline. A subset of those people went on to help us with the campaign and website. She says that Julia is clearly not Madeline. That when she reached out the last year, I'm guessing in this context would be 2024, that she knew immediately that she is not Madeline. She said that in the voicemail that was left by Wandels, the jurors got to hear this voicemail, and they said, and she basically said, don't give up on your daughter. I'm not a liar. I'm not crazy. I just want to know the truth. Please don't reject me. This is just crazy, man, because she just doesn't look like... This is what Madeline McCann looks like as a child. This is what Madeline McCann looks like. If you search it now, this is what she looks like as a child. How does this person look like the defendant that we're seeing here? No idea. Like, how does she look like her here? Anyway, I digress. Let's move on to the testimonies. This is Kate McCann. Kate said, there were two women and I finally realized it was Julia. I seen her photo before she was quite vivid in my mind from all the previous messages. She even said that she called me mom, says I'm your daughter, and she asked them to do a DNA test, and this was distressing for her. She gave testimony, Kate gave testimony that both of them, both Julia and Karen Sprague, they followed her as I tried to close the door. Julia was putting her hands out to stop me. I managed to close and lock it, but they kept banging on the door. So you have to imagine that both of these people are now at the house banging on the door. This is moving on. Wandelt, misspelling there. Wandelt Kate told the jurors that she received a letter saying Madeline the day after the visit, referring to me as mom. She said, describing the distress it caused. So she was referring to these people as mom. So let's go and read that letter really, really quickly while I wait for this screen to load up, because sometimes I have to choose another browser because Microsoft Edge is letting me down, man. I like Microsoft Edge. I mean, that's the only place that has proper lighters, and I like using lighters, but it's so slow. Anyway, moving on. YBE Young Black Economist says, conspiracy theorist or mental health issues. Sometimes it's hard to tell, like, is she trolling or is she making, she must have made money going on Dr. Phil. And this is, I'll play the video, but this is why I don't like shows like Dr. Phil sometimes. Anyway, Young Black Economist says, like the girl who says she is Tupac's daughter. A lot of people think that she's grifting because she has lots of people watching her online, and she asked for donations. I mean, that's a grift. That has to be a grift, because at this point she is taking the matter into her own hands at that point. Let me try and reduce it so you can see the full messages. But yeah, so let me try and move it here actually. Oh wait, no, it's not gonna work. Okay. Anyway, moving on. So let me know how you're feeling in the chat. Let me know what you think of this case, because I was very surprised to learn that this case was even happening. Like, I only learned about it last week, and I saw the tweets coming up on my timeline. So I was very surprised to have seen that they even have a stalker. And the stalking, apparently the charge goes back to November 2024, so this is the first time it's gone to trial. Anyway, the full text of the letter, this is reported by Leicestershire Live. It says, "Dear Mum, Kate, I'm sorry for causing you so much distress, but when I saw you yesterday, my emotions were so strong. I felt a close connection to you. I don't like to see you being upset. All I want is to find out the truth. I have memories and I have gathered a lot of evidences supporting my case. I think that inside your heart you believe and know who I am, and I am your daughter." Insane. "I don't understand why you don't want to do a DNA test with me. I think you are scared, but whatever makes you scared, I just remember that you are stronger than that. Yesterday, I heard a lot of care and love in your voice. I believe and I hope that you will find a way to contact me. Lots of love, Madeline X." That's crazy. If you put it into your mind, your daughter is missing and now she turns up a lot. You equally would be thinking, wait, what if she's dead? I don't know, man. That is just weird that anyone would go this far. But we heard on the opening statements that the police had confirmed that this DNA is conclusively not Madeline. We also heard that they destroyed the DNA sample. So they must have somebody to come in. Likely, because the trial is going to resume on Monday, they're going to have someone to come in and testify to the validity of this, which is why they made that assertion on the opening, which is why the prosecution made the assertion on the opening statement. So I'm guessing that they have that coming in. Anyway, that's moving on. Let me try and find the part. So this is the cross-examination. Tom Price of Wandel's team says, "Kate told jurors strangers have come to our home before. I remember someone sitting on the floor outside the front door. I just told her to go to the police." This is, I'm guessing, I don't know why she would ask this question, but why he would ask this question, but I'm guessing it's just to try and differentiate and be like, you have strangers coming to your house, and then you have this woman who believes that is a daughter. Those two cannot coexist. I'm guessing that's why he's probably asking this question. And then it seems like a very short cross-examination. Then we have Kate now being cross-examined by Sprague's counsel. So her case is only that she's supporting this particular person in the campaign. So I'm guessing what Simon is going to be focusing on a lot is going to be around that she's just going along believing this person is who she says that she is. So that's why that's why the question is asked. How many others has contacted her claiming to be Madeline? And she says not many, maybe single figures. Well, if not that many people have contacted you, then it's reasonable to believe that she will believe that this person is likely the real person, the real deal. Or she could be doing it, and I'm anticipating that it's going to come across, it's going to be brought up in the closing arguments. I'm thinking that he's going to say that actually that she was only doing it because she saw the press attention. Karen Sprague, I'm referring to. So anyway, day 3 happened. Gerry McCann went on to the stand. He broke down. He breaks down in court and says that Kate's phone was going off continuously, one after the other. She was obviously very in distress and struggling to concentrate. And he was saying that he was confident that this is not Madeline McCann. And This part took me out. She accused me of being a Mason. Jay McCann told jurors he was confronted outside his home by the defendants. She had some papers, he said, Jerry McCann said, in her left hand and phone in her right hand. He said the other woman walked quite close to me during the incident. Gerry continued, the other woman said something about a cover-up and accused me of being a member of the Masons. I was pretty astounded. I didn't know much about the Masons. I didn't even know if they're like Catholics in. Oh, God. I don't even know if they're like Catholics in. So basically, what you're saying is, I may have joined if I knew that they probably let Catholics. I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but oh my God, this is like I said, this case has had a lot. That's the first time I've heard the Masons part, because like I said, this news was circulated a lot when I was growing up. This whole idea of Illuminati, Masons, all of these secret societies, etc., that wasn't prevalent back when I was growing up. That only became a thing when I went to uni. I remember, I believe it was 2013. That's when it became a thing. But to hear them use it here, you can tell how much this particular thing has devoid into a circus of its own, because at least before I went into uni, which was like 2008, I haven't heard anything about this case. And that maybe that's because I've moved out. No, I went to uni in 2011, my bad. Went to college in 2008. Anyway, when I went to uni in 2011, this wasn't a thing. And maybe that's why, and maybe because I've moved out of my parents' house and I'm not exposed to my dad watching the TV, and we just didn't have any control over that because it was his TV, so we couldn't choose the channel to go into. So we had to watch the TV. So that's how I even knew about this case, because he was just watching it over and over and over and over again. But nonetheless, I never heard about all these things. So the conspiracy theory, like, yeah, that's insane. Nah, this one makes me think she's trolling. Get the fuck out of here. All the typical conspiracy theories. She has to be. I have to agree with you, YB. I have to agree with you, because that's the part that took me out a lot. Anyway, they kept banging and shouting. When I got inside, Gerry says, I pulled the curtains out the door and went straight into the kitchen to see Kate. They kept banging on the door about 10 to 15 minutes. Kate felt frightened. So this was when they were at the house. Gerry said, I'm not gonna get into this. I'm not on this show. I would have one day we'll get into it in future streams about Freemasonry. You know what, I will make it a mission. If I can find a case that links to Freemasonry and the secret societies on it, etc., I'll bring it in here. If you guys find a case or something like that, suggest it. Like, I think you can find it on my website on suggest the case. Let me quickly go up to it so that you guys can see how you can submit cases. Let me go to it. Let me go to it right here. So this is how you can submit a case. It's right here. Suggest the case, and then this is how you can contact. So either way, yeah, there we go. Either way, this is how you can get in contact, and then I will definitely have a look at the case. So if you definitely believe that there is a case out there that involves the Illuminati, etc., I would love to jump in at it. The last time I did hear it, tell a lie, I did actually hear a case about it. I think it was when I was looking to the Church of Scientology. In the case of, I keep forgetting the guy's name, but he was charged with rape. But he was charged with rape. And he was sentenced to Dan Matheson. When I was looking at his particular case, that's when I found that there is actually a case out there. I have to look back into it. So I will look back into it, but there is a case with the Church of Scientology, and, you know, so I'll have to look into it. But if you guys find it, let me know. That's the plug. Yeah, I'll look. There's gotta be something. Yeah, definitely YBE. Look, I would love to do a stream on it. I would love to. Like, we can talk about it there, but not for this particular case. I'm sorry. I may not believe the McCanns fully. I think something may have happened to the door, but I just don't want to do that for this particular case. You know, I still want to give them the respect that they deserve, because they still did lose a daughter. So I don't want to go into that realm. Let me move on. Okay, so he now explains why they had denied the DNA, why they had denied to give the DNA testing. So he goes on to explain, first of all, we did not believe she was Madeline, Gerry told jurors. Secondly, we were reassured by the Met Police that after inquiries in Poland, she was definitely not Madeline. So they went to the police went to Poland, to the police contacted Poland and sorted this all out. And thirdly, he said it isn't our responsibility to do a DNA test. That's a matter for the investigating forces, which I hope that the jurors are not one of these people that will go rogue and just dismiss Gerry and be like, oh, well, you're lying. You should have done a DNA test. Maybe that's why she would not have, done what she did. So that was the testimony from Gerry McCann. Like I said, I'm going to post the link for you guys to go look at this case yourself in the description. I'm just going to go through the last testimony I want to look at today, and this is Amelie McCann, who is the daughter of Gerry McCann. They have a son and a daughter, and she was born after Madeline's disappearance, 2005. Madeline disappeared in 2003. I believe Madeline was their first child. Anyway, Amelie McCann told the court, I knew her before she had contacted me. I think police told my parents about it, and maybe it was on the news. It started in January 2024. She's been messaging me on social media. So I don't know. This is actually, I'm not saying up. Oh, wait, what did I think Random Girl said this. Random Girl said earlier. I just remembered you saying this earlier. It says, I remember headlines when this person first came forward as Madeline. So I'm guessing you probably are referring to, because she did come forward. But let me go back. Let me go to Dr. Phil interview. Hopefully it's loaded. This was 2 years ago, so it was 2023. Was that around the time that you heard this particular? Because this is when. So let's listen to the interview. Let me know when you first heard the headlines.
Is consistent with your mother, that shows that you two are biologically related. What will you think then?
I think that mothers should not do these things too.
Trust Dr. Phil to get this part wrong. It's Wendell, not Wendell. This is why I don't take Dr. Phil seriously. Honestly, I respect what he does. I respect everyone's hustle. Everyone that built a career from Dove, well done. But I just would never watch Dr. Phil. I think it's successful.
Your children. So I have younger sister. I'm not mother, but I have 9-year-old sister, so stepsister, and I love her so much. She's everything for me, and if she will come to me and say, Julia, someone hurt me, I would take this person out from her house and make everything.
Sweet Pea, I just remembered. Check your email. Check your email. I hope you're well. Welcome to the stream. We are wrapping up right now. I'm going to wrap this up. It's 15 minutes left. I'll try to keep this under 2 hours, but I kind of took too long in the Aaron Spencer case breakdown. Hopefully, I'll refine this as we go on. But yes, let me know. Check your email. I've sent you a message.
I could make to make her safe.
So you're saying just based on behavior, you don't believe she's your mother as well?
Too.
Yeah.
So,
But if the DNA tests prove that she was your birth mother,
if she is my mother, biological mother, it's, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. If she's
Listen to your accent.
my mother,
That is something that you naturally have to grow. I'm sorry, Madeline was, I think she was 10 or something like that. No, not 10, 5. I think she was 4 or 5. I don't know how old she was, but I know she wouldn't gain a Polish accent. If, let's say that she was taken to Poland from Portugal, where she went missing, and she was taken to Poland, and she lived a life there. I just don't see it. She just wouldn't have this strong of an accent. I just don't see it.
I don't want to have a contact
Because
with.
she still grew up in the UK. Her voice box. She was speaking. You can speak when you're like 1 or 2. Is it? I don't know. Women, please confirm this. I'm not a father. I've not raised children. I've taken care of children. I've not raised children. So you would know this better than I do. But I'm just thinking of development. Your voice box would not be that developed. Let me move on.
That's all. But I believe that she isn't my mother.
okay, I understand. This all can be resolved very simply if you provide a DNA sample to Scotland Yard, for example. Are you willing to do that?
If DNA will show that my roots come from Britain, I will do this.
Well, is there any reason you wouldn't give it to Scotland Yard? If they have the McCann's DNA and they had your DNA, they could immediately determine whether or not you were related.
I would like to do it, but I tried to talk with Scotland Yard. I mean, I called them many times.
Because this is all a science question. It can be answered very simply. You don't have to compare pictures. You don't have to do anything. You just have to take their DNA and your DNA and compare it.
I tried to do it many times. As I said, I called many authorities. Nobody answered.
In any event, that's what you want. You want confirmation one way or the other.
I want to know the truth. That's all. I think that everybody wants to know the truth. Like, for example, if you will be in my situation, you would like to know the truth too.
100%.
Yes.
For sure, I'd want to know. And you think if you're not Madeline McCann, that you might be some other missing child?
I believe that I am Madeline McCann.
Yeah. If you're not, you still question whether you belong to these people that raised you.
I think that we have to wait for results.
I want to thank you for coming and.
Well, that's all of it. I'll leave a link for you to go watch the full thing. It's only 4 minutes long, so it's not really that much. But anyway, going back to the testimony of Amelie McCann, and she was basically giving testimony about when she had essentially, oh my gosh, why is this going off? Anyway, how she had essentially reached out to her in her DMs. I believe she said Instagram. I believe she said it was on social. Well, she didn't really specify which platforms. She just said she contacted her on social media. She didn't think that it was stalking or anything like that. She wasn't aware the extent of our context. And so she didn't think it was a criminal offense or anything like that. She said that that it was quite distressing to see the messages, and there's a sound of desperation in them, and that's basically. And after all of this, she went on to block Wandelt on Facebook, TikTok, then showed her mom Kate a WhatsApp screen recording of all the messages that she has released. So I'm guessing that they're gonna bring this in later on during the trial, or they probably brought I'm guessing they're gonna bring this in. There were so many. I was just scrolling and scrolling. She said it was a bit scary, and here she says mom harassed with she said there was a constant phone calls to the mom, and she was begging she was begging you to believe her, playing with your emotions, making you question yourself, saying I'm your daughter, my mom really struggled. So anyway, that's the substance of the testimony. She did go on to say, I'm not interested in what she has to say. I do not believe that she is Madeline. Oh, my bad. I moved on to Sean McCann's testimony. I didn't realize that there was a split. I should have noticed that there was a change in the that there was a change. I should have noticed that, but so there was a change. The part I highlighted was Sean McCann giving evidence. So ignore this. I believe this part. Ignore this part because Sean gave testimony from here. I believe it's from here. So ignore that part. So this is where Amelie's testimony had ended. Let me just highlight that. It's not gonna come up on the website anyway, so don't worry. But I just want to highlight that for the stream. This is where it ended, and this is where Sean's testimony began. I'm not gonna go into it, but of course we learned that he himself also, I think, did he end up blocking? I don't think, no. So only Amelie McCann was the one that was doing the blocking. Anyway, like I said, I'm not gonna go through all of this because the family was the main ones to basically testify, and they were just basically testifying to what they heard. But I wanted to focus on Kate, Gerry, and Amelie because of they had the main contacts, especially Amelie, who she was reaching out to. So that's why I wanted to go through their testimony. That's basically it. I want to go through this last one. It's not really. I'm not gonna spend time on it because I have covered this particular case. Is the case of Tim Westwood on the channel. Let me share the screen for you if I can find the screen. Flipping heck, so many tabs open up. Yeah, there we go. So let me share this screen. It is the case of Tim Westwood, and I am planning to go into court for this particular case. So that's two cases, no, three. So there's Michael Ward if it goes to trial, Thomas Partey if it goes to trial, and Tim Westwood if it goes to trial. So they're not all going to coincide together. So I hope not. They're not good. That's not really going to happen. So I will update if anything changes anyway. But I should ideally definitely will be covering Thomas Partey and Tim Westwood. But in regards to Tim Westwood, focusing on what he has been alleged to have done. Let me just try and find it. There we go. I have to restart. Yeah, I'm definitely moving from Edge. I'm sorry. I'm not going through this. This is like, it should not be this difficult. Anyway, so Tim Westwood, former Radio 1 DJ, big DJ in the UK, known for pioneering the hip hop scene over here. If you know anything about music, you will know how influential this guy is. And I've done a video when I was covering a lot of celebrity news and all of those things that was related to courtroom. Now I'm covering more of a broader spectrum. But I went into the history in which his allegations were being brought to the forefront. It wasn't neat. I'll link the video into the description so that you guys can go watch that to get a bit of a background, because it's not the first time there have been complaints against him, but here he is going to be in Westminster Magistrate Court. He has been charged with offences of indecently it says here, in 1983, a 17-year-old girl was allegedly indecently assaulted in the Fulham area in London. In 1986, a woman in her 20s was allegedly indecently assaulted in the Vauxhall area in London. I don't think indecently assaulted is actually a charge. Like it would be sexual assault. That's what the charge would actually be. Between 1995 and 1996, a female between the age of 17 to 18 was allegedly raped in London. So that's the first rape charge that he's facing. It is also alleged that the same woman was indecently assaulted, also sexual assault as well, in central London. So that's that. So I believe he's facing. It says here he's facing 2 counts of sexual assault and my bad, nine counts of indecent assault and 2 counts of sexual assault. So it is actually a charge. I did not read that properly. My bad. I thought they were calling it differently. So the charges related to 7 women, with the allegations spanning from 1983 to 2016. That's basically it. A lot of this, the 2016 woman is a woman from Finchley, another woman from Stroud, and rape in London. So I think he's facing 2 rape charges from what I'm reading here. He's facing 2 rape charges. So yeah, I just wanted to go through that really, really quickly. And that's the show. What do you guys think? If you let me know what you think. I have run over a little bit. I do try to keep these shows under 2 hours, but it's been great to hang out with you guys. Let me know what you think of the show if you're watching this back on replay. Yeah, let me know in the comment section. But yeah, hopefully, what did you make of the trials that we have recapped on here? Also, what did you make of that Aaron Spencer case? I want to know your thoughts in the description, because that case is going to split opinions, and I'm definitely going to cover the case if it goes to trial. I want to see how if it does go to trial, it might get tossed out. But nonetheless, thank you everyone for tuning in. Young Black Economist, Sweet Pea. I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. Also, Random Girl, thank you so much for modding today. But yeah, wow. Week 41 we're in, so that's done. Week 42, I'm going to be a lot more communicative in the YouTube comments, well, not comments, the community post. So therefore, make sure that you check that out. I will be posting a lot more of the trials that I'm going to be covering for Source on Order. You should expect a post on Friday night or Friday afternoon, wherever you're at, so you guys know what's coming up. I am also, there's a case right now that's happening in the state of Florida, Miami-Dade County, the same county as Courtney Clinton case. We are going to be definitely covering that, but I'm referring to the Daisy Link case. It's a murder case that includes instances of domestic violence. Very interesting. I have been doing daily recaps as the trial has been going on. So definitely check that out on the channel. Check out the playlist. It will have the catch up there so that you can binge on the recaps. They're only like maximum 15 to 20 minutes long, so nothing much to lose sleep over. But anyway, that's all I have time for. I go by the name of Heinz, your friendly neighborhood catcher man, and thank you so much, every single one of you, for tuning in. We are live every Sunday from 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. UK time, if you want to hang out and get the roundup of what's happening in the US and the UK court trials and all things related to crime. We talk legal cases over here. We discuss legal cases. We discuss trials on this particular show, happening every Sunday. Do not miss it. Share with your friends. We need this place to have open, objective discussions. Hopefully, you guys will be back next week for another episode of Source and Order. Take care of yourself. Bye for now. Thank you everyone for tuning in for another Catch Up Court live stream. Make sure that you smash that like button as well as hitting that subscribe button to be notified of our future live streams. We go live regularly, bringing you case updates and recaps of ongoing trials, so make sure you hurry back on the next live stream. We also have more content on the channel that you can binge on. Check out the playlist that we have showcasing all of these contents. Without further, I go by the name of Heinz, your friendly neighborhood ketchup man, and I'll see you back in court.